Monday, February 7th, 2022, 7 p.m. Commissioners meeting for Elizabeth Township. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Watson.
Here.
Commissioner Campbell.
Here.
Commissioner Walls.
Here.
Commissioner Algieri.
Here.
Commissioner Coma.
Here.
Commissioner Foyer.
Here.
President Rocket.
Present. We have an executive session this evening, February 7th, at the beginning at 6 o'clock, to discuss personnel issues and litigation. Department reports. Code enforcement.
I just have one thing outside of my written report. On February 1st, the township conducted an abatement of a violation on Green Up University Road. A brief rundown of that is township personnel that were involved. There were 5 police officers on the scene at the time, 9 street department personnel, township manager, the administrative code assistant, myself, the code enforcement officer. There were 5 police vehicles, 3 township vehicles, 5 road department vehicles and trailer, 1 skid steer. We were down there from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., 6 hours total to abate the violation. There are roughly 102 personnel hours. Other personnel and equipment, there were 3 tow trucks from C&D Towing, 1 truck and driver from Big Sanitation, and we used 3 30-yard roll-off dumpsters.
Wow. That's a lot of.
And Green Up Vista Road was shut down for 6 hours in both directions.
Well, I want to thank, actually, this was formed really by Mr. Waltz and some of his work initially. So I want to thank you, Josh, for your leadership there, and John, and of course the chief and the staff for doing some work there to straighten that property out.
The public knowledge, that was a residence between Mount Vernon Dairy and Buena Vista on the right going down, and it's been a big time eyesore, big pile of garbage for years. And Josh, you want to make a comment about it, but yeah, it's clean now.
Just, John, if you could just maybe run through, was there any type of tickets or like fines against this property owner, and how many violations? Do you have that information?
Well, there was one current violation. There were several past violations that had been adjudicated through the court system. The property had been cleaned up in the past. And of course, it started all over again. There were township tickets issued to the tune, I believe it's about $14,000 for the father and then for the son, because they both had that amount, because they both claimed some of the property was the father's, some was the son's. So they were both issued numerous township tickets on a per day basis.
Okay, thank you.
And then we'll receive a lien as well from this abatement process.
Yes, the lien will be placed on the property once we get all the actual total cost and everything calculated, which will take
A little bit of time.
yeah, we'll at least probably take about a month and a half, because we have to store items for 30 days, so we won't have final cost until anything left that we have to dispose of is disposed of.
Thank you. Engineer.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll have our written report, so I'll just hit on some of the highlights. The wastewater project, pump station, Keysport, on Boston, we are starting to come up out of the ground with concrete pours. One of the vertical walls is done. Second is scheduled for Wednesday. They were tying rebar at the Uni plant, but obviously with flood, the excavation of flooded, so they're pumping it out as pumping billion. They're in contact with our inspectors, and it's nothing to worry about, and this construction and most of the kinds of things, this kind of stuff happens. So things are moving forward, basically is planned on that. Stony Brook, slag remediation, we have a bid opening scheduled for February 22nd. That and Mansfield We are working with Greg and Matt to secure easements for, those two projects, which will need to be in place, prior to us starting construction. Jacktown Road Bridge, things are moving there, but with any of these projects, any more permitting is a nightmare. So, we got another round of comments back, on the GP, which is the, stream encroachment, that's been, submitted back to DEP. We did have a bid opening on the, garage roof replacement, which will be with next month. The area-wide demolition, bid opening is Wednesday, and Greg, Kevin's gonna cover that, and so he'll be back here. And, Forest Hills, I see is on the agenda for later on. One of the things I did want to bring up, you guys received, and I forwarded on to Greg, you know, we submitted 2 GDF grants, for the board's request. One was for, Jacktown Road, and the other one was for Heights Hall. We were denied, funds, but I heard, got information on the local shed, which they call RSA loan. It's big in Washington County, it's basically a game. They have opened it up to the whole entire state. They're accepting applications through March 15th for projects from anywhere from 25,000 to. So I can work with Greg if there's, you know, if you guys want to try.
Yes.
Yeah, so
I think I speak out of order on that.
Yes.
So we can, I'll work with Greg on those two, and maybe some other ones you can work with. It doesn't hurt, I mean,
Now,
what are you gonna tell you now, and then at least one line. That's all I have before working with the new commissioners.
any questions from Mr. Motley?
I'll save my questioning for Forest Hills.
Okay.
When we get to that point of the agenda.
Question on the building demolitions,
Yes,
how many was there, how many are done?
we have not done them yet. We're opening the bids, here this week.
There was some done, though?
Some of them were through the cog, because I think there was some done through the cog.
Four this year.
Okay.
And then-
Oh, those were on the regular.
Yeah, and how many are we doing as part of the area one?
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
More interesting question, how many are there ultimately to tear down? I already know the answer.
Did I mention John and I did a quick, inventory of how many we've torn down in the last 5 years? I think I reported in the last 8 years, 76 structures so far. It's a lot. There's still a few to go.
Is there a number of how many remain that you've torn down? Do we have an idea of that?
Yeah, I would say maybe another 10 or 15
Those are homes?
that still we might need to look at, beyond the 10 that were, for the bid opening that we're opening.
And that's township-wide?
Yeah,
So you're saying a total of like maybe 20, 25 homes? You haven't torn down a bit?
yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Because we have torn down 76 of them.
Yeah.
Thank you. Public Works, Mr. Twaley.
Other than my grid report, the only thing I have, the salt situation is taken care of.
Thank you.
Started Friday today.
I'd like to make a comment. My hat's off to you and your team over this last month. Definitely, we had one moment where it was like 36 straight hours of snow early in February. We had, another event this past week, and then, weeks leading up to it. My hat goes off to you and your team. I think that, I speak on behalf of most residents, if not all, of the fine work that you guys did for our township roads. Thank you.
Well, I think you guys did a great job. Do you have a plan going forward for the salt, so we don't get in a situation where it gets too low?
The issue is supply. You know, it's taking 2 weeks to get started on an order. You know,
Can we do larger orders, or is there a
It
maximum?
doesn't matter. Just, you know, with the storms that we had back to back, the ice storm, it kills us on the salt because trying to get that developed.
I'm just wondering.
So my question would be, how much salt is in our bin and that we store, and how many trips does that provide around the township? Do you know that number?
The salt, the bin will hold 3,500 tons.
Okay.
It takes anywhere 120 to 140 tons to do one round. And that depends on the type of snow, the
Right.
temperature.
Got it.
There's too many variables in there to give you an exact amount.
Okay, I do understand too, and maybe some of the newer commissioners understand that this is through Shaycog, this salt is bid through them, and that's just part of the process.
That's correct. So the salt is purchased through a joint bid,
Yeah.
with the other 23 municipalities. It's currently at $78 a ton, which is amazing, really cheap. Our budget for salt is $330,000. So if you divide those numbers, you'll see how many tons we get every year. And again, as Paul said, sometimes you use more, sometimes less.
Well, thank you again.
Hey, Dr. Tom. Sure. So one thing Paul's not telling me, or telling us, he gave me a summary of our purchases so far this year. Basically, the summary of what we had ordered and what we had in inventory before the storm came. Paul had ordered 1,300 tons of salt 10 days prior to the storm. He had received only 220 to no fault to his. Paul and I called Lou Gorski, the head of Shaycog, and asked him if he could kind of nudge Cargill today to get some salt in here, which they did. Many truckloads. We're in very good shape right now. But in the meantime, Lou did say there was massive turnover at Cargill. These are Lou's words, not mine. Massive turnover, a lot of promotions, a lot of retirements. He said it's never been this disorganized before, and he's never had so many complaints about delivery. It's a real problem across many municipalities. But in Paul's defense, 1,300 tons is a lot of salt prior to an ice storm. So we still have, I don't know what we received today ultimately, it was probably around 500.
340 today.
So we're still only at 500 on 1,300 from that first order, and Paul ordered an additional 1,700. So we have roughly 2,500 tons coming our way still. But when we get it, nobody knows. And Lou wasn't very happy. He wasn't very happy. It's his contract. It's a Shaycog contract. Anyway,
That comes out of metal item, I think, too, you're saying, right?
Well, that's where our original order was
Right,
coming
right.
from. They switched it to West Elizabeth.
Okay, now it's okay.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty good order somewhere. Thank you, guys. Sanitary, your water. Did I miss one? Oh, I'm sorry, give you, Mike, I'm sorry, I missed the chief's report, sorry, chief, I didn't do that purposely, I don't want to get mad at the police.
No. So I have 3 items, one of them first, reflecting on my monthly report. I just wanted to give a moment to talk about, on the 16th, we had a road rage incident involving a firearm in our Boston area. Based on the weather and the amount of people around at that time, under normal circumstances, a case that complicated would have a very tough time to close. I want to thank Commissioner Walk and Commissioner Poirier for their leadership on the budget finance committee with the support of the board in 2021 to allow us to expand the license plate reader system. The license plate reader system technology was used in this case, and we were quickly able to identify the vehicle involved with the suspect, and not only identify the suspect, but arrest the suspect. And, a case like that was something we want quick closure on, and we were able to do that with the support of the board and the budget finance committee. It was a big cost, but as stated by President Rocco, the cost is irrelevant when it comes to the results. We continue with the traffic solutions project at our school zones. I first briefed out on it in October of 2021. Our goal is to have a new traffic enforcement signage in place at all of our Elizabeth Forward school districts. We are happy to report that we have found a vendor through CoStars that works out of Chantilly, Virginia, and they gave us a CoStars quote, and then with the help of Commissioner Toma, gave us additional discounts for project. Roughly, the cost initially is being Right now, we got a quote at $35,000. Commissioner Toma is continuing conversations with Elizabeth Ford School Board, potential donors from the Lions, the Rotary, and also is working to come up with contact with Fuller Township commissioners as to what their contributions, if any, will be, considering a site at William Penn Elementary School. We are still well within the ability to have the project accomplished by school year start, fall of 2022. And I just want to thank Commissioner Toma and the rest of the board members for allowing me to take on this project and make our school zone safer. The long-term project will be at each school in both directions, a variable messaging sign that will have red and blue flashing lights. It will radar the speed of the oncoming traffic, and those will be in place in all of our school zones in Elizabeth Ford School District, making the location safer for our students. And finally, we have, I received on the 24th a letter from the Chief of Police from Peters Township praising the efforts of Officer Jordan Angelo when he responded to one of our community resident locations where his family lives. There was a family member there that was suffering from a debilitating memory loss situation. Jordan Angelo responded in a professional manner. I don't want to get into the particulars of it. However, Chief Grimes, the Chief of Peters Township, is a 28-year law enforcement Chief of Police, 35 years total law enforcement experience, retired state trooper. And he just wanted to thank Officer Angelo for his actions on that day by bringing, empathy and compassion and giving his family member dignity in a very trying time for his family. So a lot of kudos to Officer Angelo. He operated a way that day that brought not only great credit to himself, but the Elizabeth Township Police Department, and I'm very grateful.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions or comments for the chief?
Yeah, Chief, on that proposal for well, first of all, come on, to the officer, that's the most highest regard you could have is when your peers acknowledge you. And my hat goes off to you and your staff on that, and I think that's something to be proud of. And from my understanding, that's going into his permanent files and other recommendations, which it should. You should be very well proud of that. I know you're proud of your officer for that. On the lighting there, just to reiterate, we talked about Forward Township and that bid that we have there is just for the ET, correct?
That is correct. We did not request a bid for a Fuller Township location.
Yes. So with that being said, how many signs are at each school? Could you give a little bit more detail?
Sure. We have 5 locations, so Elizabeth Township has 4 of those facilities, so it'll be 2 signs at each location. At Green Oak and Mount Vernon, there's already legacy signs in place, so those locations will be replaced with the new signs that have, electrical power to them. The other locations, to minimize cost, at the middle school and the high school, we will put in solar technology so that there's not construction costs and installation costs, and also an environmentally friendly solution that we can consider at Green Oak and Mount Vernon as we move into the future.
Now, this company we got this bid through, from what I understand, they take care of about 75% of the municipalities in Pennsylvania.
That is correct.
Okay.
Who does the install?
The install is usually done by the public works of the
Does it would
municipality.
need fire service, fire install?
Yes, sir.
Chief, one question about the electrical supply to the Green Oak and Mount Vernon. There's certainly minimal cost to electricity with any appliance these days because it's LED, but there's also a minimum monthly charge. The reason I'm bringing this up is that, have you thought about perhaps having all of these solar, eliminating the electricity in the long run? It might be worthwhile depending on the cost averaging of the solar.
Yeah, and we're still in the infancy stages in some ways, so if that's something, once we really talk with the members of the board and discuss potential, we still haven't determined whether or not fundraising will be part of this, or this is gonna be something that the township is going to vote with discretionary funds to pay for, but I will do everything possible to make it economically feasible to deliver the product at the goal time that we have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief, appreciate it, thanks. Commissioner
Tom, your turn, I'm sorry.
Just have to report in front of you, if there's any questions, I'll answer them.
Any questions for the old?
Know that the pipeline in Kites Hollow is completed. Last time I drove down there, was still a bunch of equipment sitting there. I'm assuming they won't be able to, clean that up till snow goes
They
away.
started making some equipment up for that.
Okay, good.
The lines are all, they keep bumping all the lines up there, all the old lines last week.
Okay.
Then they gotta come back and, adjust everything up in the spring.
In the spring, okay. Thanks, Bill.
Yep.
Thank you, appreciate it. Solicitors, Mr. Coon.
Yes. Several weeks ago, I was asked to conduct an investigation regarding commissioner residency. Since that time, I've researched case law, spoken to each of the seated commissioners, spoke to various witnesses, collected documents from various commissioners, and searched public records. As a conclusion of my findings, I have found that there is no support to challenge any seated commissioner, the residency at this time. So I will conclude my investigation, and that concludes my report also, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for the solicitor?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Butler, Township Manager.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll keep it as brief as possible. Blaine Hill Fire Department successfully completed their State Fire Relief Association audit for the years of 2018 through 2020, so that's great news. I attended 2 different webinars on the ARPA, that's the American Rescue Plan Act funding. In our case, it's 1.4 million approximately. The federal government did add another provision, it's a provision of government services, to the extent of the reduction in revenue due to COVID-19 public health crisis. So it's basically I'll call it a catch-all category, that a local municipality can use up to $10 million. So that's really good news for us. It means we don't have to necessarily direct that money to those specific items. As was stated earlier, we have a little more leeway, so that'll help our conversations move forward. And it's about time we probably start thinking about how to spend that money. Go through my points here. I had a lot of ideas, so I had get a lot of ideas from residents, and ideas from other commissioners, and from staff, and from myself. So I had those ideas all over the place. I pulled them all together, and I separated them by committee. So I created a committee folder on our shared drive for each committee, and I'll put those in there. And my intent is to not obviously address all of them, but to maybe have the committee decide if they want to continue to pursue some of these or not. Just so, we kind of get some direction on some of these new things, now that we've kind of made some headway with some of the basic stormwater projects. Just trying to keep some of the larger initiatives on the radar moving forward. So look for those in the future. President Rocco suggested I do a quick grant update. I'd like to do that. I'll just kind of burn through these pretty quick. This is what myself, the staff, and KLH engineers has helped us apply for the last year and a half for grants. So we did an Act 152 blight grant for demolitions. We received $25,000. There was no match. We did a CDBG year 56 grant demolitions, received $38,100. There was no match. And a CDBG year 48 grant demolitions, that's still out there for $50,000, and there's no match for that. We did a PADEP 902 recycling grant for $425,568 for recycling containers for the residents. Those are the large 55-gallon ones. That would have our logo on it and so forth. That has a roughly a 40, I'm not giving you exact numbers, but it's roughly a $42,000 match for that one, if we were to accept it. We did another grant with the Fish and Boat Commission boating facility grant for $178,000. And that has a $96,000 labor match, not a financial match. PennDOT Green Light Go grant for converting traffic lights to LEDs for $35,100. That's roughly a $7,000 match. We had the 2 GEDTF grants that Mr. Mowry mentioned. One was for $155,000 roughly. The other one was for $200,000. $281,000 roughly. Unfortunately, they were both denied. That brings our total funding, application to $985,615, that's almost $1 million over the last year and a half. In addition to that, I introduced to the board the Thomas Keller Associates, they're a federal, agency, they're lobbyists and grant writers on the federal level for the board to consider. They decided not to use their services at this point. And we did get out last week the RFP for grant writing services. We sent it to 8 candidates locally. Some of them are out of state, most of them are within the state. And we've received 1 response so far. Our deadline is February 25th. 2 more quick things. And also, I would love to work with Mr. Mowry at KLH on the LSA grant for Still's Road.
I'll forward you the information.
Okay, I think that, there is no match for that one, I believe.
No.
There's no local match. 2 more things, our auditor, they're actually not our accountants, so our auditing firm of, I always forget their full name. I'm sorry. Order Weibel and Terry, if you recall, Bart Terry was here last month, explaining the audit. Last year, the audit took quite a while to get finished. I believe I'm not sure what happened on their end. We had started giving them information probably around May or June, and it got hung up a little bit. She approached me with an option to possibly serve as an accountant. So when an accounting firm is your auditor, they can't also be your accountant. They're very limited in how much advice they can give you on the accounting level, because there would be a conflict of interest, right? So we would always call us and the staff, myself and the staff, and they would answer our questions as much as possible. But Bart would occasionally warn me, I can't answer too many questions. So I think, I don't wanna put words in their mouth, but they either might wanna get out of doing our audit, or just maybe serve as a consultant, an accounting consultant for us. So they gave us a proposal. It is in the forward. You may have seen it already. And that would be for accounting, training, and advice, $85 an hour. No contracts, just $85 an hour. I personally think that's a service worth considering. I know that our books could use a little bit of looking at and cleaning up possibly. We're not doing anything wrong, but we might be doing it the hard way, if you know what I mean. And then, with that said, we may have to find another auditor. It's already that time of the year, or it's getting there quickly, where we start to look at last year's books, so that we're not turning in our audit to the DCB in December again. So I don't know how you want me to handle that. I can speak with Barb, and say she could recommend a few accountants, or what you guys.
Just a quick comment on that. I had that similar discussion with Barb when we were going through all of that a month and a half ago, and it's kind of misstated there, Greg. She wants to continue as the auditor.
She does.
But she can't do training and still be the auditor for that particular year. And then she would be more than happy to recommend an auditor to do that year while her firm is doing the training, and then come back after that as the auditor again. And in my mind, that makes perfect sense, because they've been doing it for so long, and the continuity in something like this is very important. It saves a lot of time if you're already familiar with what's going on. She also said that your staff is very professional, and it just needed some further training, as you mentioned, in the accounting skills. So I fully support this, but I just want the board to know that Weibel Terry don't want to go away, they want to continue here.
Okay, that's good to hear, because they're very pleasant to work with.
Yeah.
And they're so helpful. She did, I also, passed the email to the sheriff drive, her approximate cost for consultant, based on what she knows, like, is about $4,000 total. And then we're like good to go, and we're coding like we should. We're doing the right process as we move forward through the year.
And I really felt like she was offering a big favor here.
Yeah,
Because they're gonna take a step back and do training for $4,000 a year. What's the audit fees?
About 15 to 20.
Yeah, so they're 20% of their normal cost, right, just to to help Elizabeth Township. I think it's great.
So I mentioned that so I could possibly include that on the agenda.
Let's add that to the agenda for the March.
Or we can discuss further. The other thing I have for the agenda, possibly next month, is one of our long-term initiatives is to digitize our documents. So we have a whole basement full of documents that are, it's overwhelming actually, but the main documents we're most concerned about are the building drawings, the architectural drawings, some of the plan drawings. According to the state, archive rolls, you have to keep those for the entire life of the, for a lifetime. And that's not true of all documents. There's our payroll documents, and so forth, you can get rid of after 7 years, or maybe 10 years. So, in order to salvage them, the first thing we did was we got them from underneath a giant pile of just file cabinets. They were just getting crushed and getting wet. They were getting water on them. It was just horrible. We're very interested in either purchasing or leasing a large format scanner printer, but we would mostly use it as a scanner, not a printer. And we did get one quote from Ford Technologies, Office Technologies. An outright purchase would be $7,989, and a 60-month lease option would be $165. So I have that also on the shared drive for you to consider. I would like to add that to the agenda next month, but we'll talk more about it. I just want to introduce.
Yeah, please do, Greg. That, you have to have the tools for the job, and that sounds like that's a really needed piece of equipment. And,
Well, the other question that I would have would be more economical to have someone do the actual scanning.
We looked into that too, it's outrageous. Yeah, that's a good question.
Greg, there were a lot of building drawings that you talked like 20 or you talked like 200.
200.
I was gonna say, because we can do it, I mean, and you could do it under your retainer, if there wasn't a lot of them, but if it sounds like you almost need this piece of equipment long term. If there's only like a handful of them, we can scan them all.
please refer to John shaking his head over there, because he's the one that just, I know he would love to have.
I'm sort of like John Meyer's suggestion. John, we're bringing some documents over in one of the pickup trucks next week.
We're gonna say, we're gonna couple.
Get ready.
Yeah, but it did, you know.
You remember, just remember, when you showed up, you offered, just saying.
All right, that's all I have.
I have one question for Greg, real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
In reference to grants, are you currently advertising for a grant writer?
Yeah, we sent out an RFP last week.
Okay.
So a little later than we wanted, I apologize, but it's out.
So that request for proposal is out, and what you said the deadline is February 25th, so we'll have that back, and hopefully something to act on it.
And then I wrote that we would have a decision by April 12th, but we can always get it sooner. I wanted to give us some time to consider.
Cool, thank you.
Budget, committee reports, budget finance,
Nothing to report for this past month.
code enforcement.
We did have a meeting, this past month, myself, Commissioner Wall, and Commissioner Walk showed up. And, basically we're getting 2022 ready. We have a kind of a rolling list that we're working on of like all the top, issues we have to attack. And we have a meeting set up for the 18th to really start digging into that list now.
Thanks.
I also wanted to thank Josh again, like everybody else
Yeah.
around, not only for helping clean up the Green and View Vista Road property, but also the Roswell Street property too.
Thanks again, John. Nancy, Parks Recreation,
So, Commissioner Tomlin and myself met a week and a half ago to talk about a few issues we're having with Boston Field. And, in a committee format, we would like to just bring forward to the board our recommendation, but, there are 3 items that I need to discuss right now with the board, because this is not a single committee decision that can be made here. And the first has to do with field permitting and the cost of a field permit. And we're specifically referring to Boston Field. The youth fields are scheduled by PFYA. We do not also charge any youth field fee at Boston Field. So these are adult leagues that are what we're referring to here. the field is permitted at $250 per time slot for the entire season. That would start, let's call it April and go through November. Weeknights, there are 2 time slots, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock. $250 per time slot. Now, Sunday Co-ed Softball League has historically occupied 7 2-hour time slots, starting all day Sunday from 10 o'clock till 10 o'clock, and have had no field charge. We've gone back and forth about this as a prior on this board. I'll give you my feeling about it in a minute. The reason that they have asked for this waiver on the 250 times 7 fee is that their group of 165 people consist of mostly Elizabeth Township residents. May or may not be. I would guess at least 3/4 of them are. We've also had some problems with this league as far as massive littering problems after their parties. Alcohol consumption is out of control. One of my other talks here in a moment is going to be about a potential fine schedule for littering down there. But right now, I'd like to talk to this board about how you feel about this league paying a field permit fee. Now, I personally don't think that township residents should have to pay to use our fields. So I'm really okay with this group paying no fee. My personal opinion, but I'd like to go around the table here and see what you guys think, because this is not something that Chris and I could decide as a recreation committee on how to move forward with this, and it will come up real soon.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, maybe I missed it, but is one of your options, was it to have, maybe you do like a hybrid type permit where you don't charge for the permit itself, but you require like a deposit that gets returned maybe after a 30-day period after you go down and inspect whether you have to spend time cleaning off? Is that something that you looked at?
We discussed that extensively, Commissioner Tom and myself. There are so many different ways to set this up that your head can spin. And the one thing that we don't want to do is to say to this group that, all right, you're gonna pay a fee towards a deposit on not making a mess, or a fine schedule. For instance, my first thought was $500 deposit from this league. You leave a little bit of garbage, it's $50. You leave a little bigger pile, it's $100. You leave the piles that you've left, it's $200. But then you start thinking, well, if the league already put $500 in, why would they clean up anything at all? Because they'll just forfeit the fee.
Well, no, because then you make it, they have to reimburse it, so if they spend $200, then it has to be a constant $500 fee, would be my thought. And I think that it's something similar that we do for the community center already, right? Don't we require a deposit for cleanup?
That is correct. So each event, only talking one event at the community center, requires a $100 deposit, which is refunded if they don't make a mess. And then people are very good about that. That's very, very few times that we've ever had to keep their deposit, twice a year maybe. But this is a weekly problem here. Starting in April, do the math on the number of Sundays there are between then and the end of November.
Make it happen.
Well, listen, we've tried this before, and it's nothing but pushback after we set these field permit rates.
Does anyone have any comment regarding this issue?
Yeah, I think if it's all residents on the team, we would waive the fee. If there's a portion that aren't, then I think we should charge the fee, and I like the idea of the additional fee for cleanup if they don't. And I like Matt said, it's a rolling fee. Just because of past history.
My personal opinion on that is, I don't wanna charge residents, if I have one person, that means that we're gonna charge, how many was it, 11 time slots, because they have one person that lives across the Boston Bridge and is playing for us at that, field, so I wouldn't agree with that. I don't wanna charge our residents, but I do think that there is a way that we can make it so that I kinda like what Matt was saying, is you have the 500, and then if they have an issue, they pay. If they don't pay, they don't play. That's the only way you're gonna do it, whatever that fee may be, maybe it's one time slot, you know, maybe it's $50, maybe it's 100, whatever the board decides. But I think that would be comparable.
Spitballing, you could almost do it also where if there's 3 strikes, no pun intended, but then you don't come out. You can't
Right.
use it.
You lose your wave, you lose your fee, whatever it is. I kinda like, we talked about that before, you know, and I think that addresses our concern that, well, they'll just leave it, you know. But to a certain extent, if we add a, you know, a strike zone type thing that, Matt was saying, you know, some sort of, you're done for the season, you have to reapply for your, you know, your grant, or your, not grant, but your,
Field permit.
your field after so many times. It's not just, we'll clean up the mess for you, pay $50 a week, you know? That's my opinion. I don't wanna charge you that.
Rich?
Well, I think you know where I stand, I think we all should pay, it's $250 for the day, or for the season, is basically what we decided. It come out to $10 a person.
Yeah.
It wasn't $250
Yeah.
for each time slot through 7 time slots.
Yeah.
It was like, my team pays the $250, the other teams that use that field pay the $250.
They do.
I have residents on my team. My team doesn't leave a mess.
No, they do
They're
not.
leaving an entire disaster mess.
Several times.
Several times. I've seen your pictures, and I got frustrated with it, because I think they should pay. I mean, you're talking $10 an individual, it's not that big of a deal. And I think there should definitely be a penalty for leaving that kind of mess. And if you don't keep it clean, because the problem is, you have a team that comes in at 10 o'clock in the morning. They leave the mess, you can't punish one team. Because if they keep leaving messes, the last team has to clean all that up, right? And it's just not gonna be feasible for you to hold 6 other teams accountable. You gotta hold the whole field accountable for that day. If people don't clean up, take their garbage. If they're gonna drink, take your cans and whatever with you. I mean, why not just take your bag of garbage up? You're gonna get 1 white bag of garbage per game. Just take the garbage.
You can't believe 1 bag of garbage?
No, per dugout, per team. If it's 3 bags, take it with you.
Oh, I wish it was only.
No, per team, like per time slot, you know, what I mean, per dugout. But for what was happening last year, that was embarrassing. And they're not even paying. That's embarrassing.
They're not even bad.
Who cleans up the mess?
You're looking at them.
You think?
Oh, I took it on because before this,
Shouldn't be clean up.
well, before this, it was, the Sarah baseball team. They have that field every afternoon for practice, and their coach is a really good guy, and he really cares, and he doesn't wanna see a bunch of beer bottles and cans laying around on his field before these teenagers show up, so they cleaned it up. And he finally got fed up with it, and I started paying attention, and it didn't take me long to get fed up with it either. At the beginning of the year, we were getting contributing problems from, Still Valley League. They straightened up right away. They have 6 time slots during the week. Never had any problems from, Rich's team. Slight extent with Muddy Waters, they straightened right up. But, you know, I wouldn't be sitting here complaining if it wasn't for the Sunday League. This is a problem.
I'd go down there at 11 o'clock at night and see the dugout. I'd send you pictures, I said, it's clean through the week.
Right?
It's the Sunday league, it's an issue. And it's a shame because if they're all residents.
It gets a little deeper than that too, because so there are, 4 waste management garbage cans down there. They're this big. They're huge. They pick up the garbage on Monday. I'm sorry, they pick up the garbage on Friday. Waste management comes on Friday. Sunday League fills all 4 of those up on Sunday.
At least.
At least, fills all 4 of them up on Sunday. We gotta have some rules set down here, and this is a very difficult thing for one commissioner or even Chris and I on the rec committee to sit down and write these things, because it's this whole board that's gonna have to live with it.
What's your recommendation?
you know, because when I first came here, Rich and I sat up,
Yeah.
how many hours did we sit and write?
You wrote
You wrote the whole thing, and then
It changed.
it changed. So, you know, I'm sort of saying if you're a resident, you don't pay, you shouldn't have to, but there needs to be some regulation. So what,
No.
I don't know how we do that, but,
Here's another issue.
you know,
10 o'clock at night, lights are off, right? People leave. 2 people go down there, somebody has a key to the lights. 2 people in that field catch a ball. They leave and leave the lights on.
Yep.
Now, who has access to the lights? Everybody.
it really has to do.
I
with
can't
people-
answer. I don't even know where it is. I don't.
Swissville coming down here, catch balls.
It really has to do with the people that have the permits and sign the permits, and you have to regulate them, and you have to sort of find some way to communicate to them, what the rule's gonna be. And whether they have to supply a retainer of some kind, that's reimbursed if they clean up. To me, you reimburse them. You say, hey, it's a $500 retainer, you'll get it back if we have no problems, if not, we're gonna assess, and try it out. I mean, that's an idea. I mean, maybe it needs to be more than that, I don't know, but we want the people to use the facility, that's an important thing, that they're using the facility, we know that for sure. And if we'd like to, we wanna have, you know, great facilities for our community, but if they're not gonna take advantage, we need to find some way to control it. That would be my recommendation.
Tough deal.
No, I just think, you know, again, we want them to pay for residents, but we say, you're gonna have to supply a retainer, it'll be reimbursed at the end of the season if you want to make wrong. That's an idea.
All right.
We'll sit together and we'll come up with a recommendation.
Well, I got another thing I want to bring up, just regarding this same thing. We talked about this briefly. We have a fee that is paid for an alcohol permit at the community center, which is $100 for one event. What do we do at the Boston Phil? This is every Sunday, from starting in May through November. How many days is that?
I've seen it through
30?
I've seen it through the week,
Oh, yeah, well,
but not to that degree.
no, sometimes some of those teams on the Still Valley, they drink too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough one, really is. I just wish there was some way that we could get together with these folks and say, hey, look, we don't want to be like this. Why don't you just clean up your junk?
And maybe that's what we should do, is whoever's running with.
Well, Chief Huntington and I had this discussion.
Meet with 7 managers,
Mandatory meeting.
have 7 managers show up, and just explain, you gotta clean up your garbage. I mean, if you're residents, you're paying for free, have a little bit of pride and clean up. That's
Take
all
it
it
with
is.
you. I like
And make it a requirement that before we issue the permit, you have to meet with them. That would be something too, right?
Or maybe just communication.
So-
It may be 2 teams that's a problem, not all 7.
The other part of this too part is if you have a retainer fee for garbage, then
I'm just
you
throwing
can't
that
just
out.
charge them. You have to do it for all of
Well,
them.
yeah, I get it. I get
That's
it.
not fair.
Well, again, I mean, if you're gonna reimburse them, but I think, you know, the key here is that, because I said, Rich and I worked on that a lot, my first year.
You did, and
And
you
it was,
did a great job.
and I got beat up, so.
All right, so,
Thank you.
I have one other thing I'd like to talk about, again, came out of Recreation Committee.
Sure.
The fencing in front of each of the dugouts and the 4-foot fencing that forms the perimeter of that field is in very poor state. And, the fencing is coming out at the bottom, it has become dangerous. It is, not only trip hazard, but rip your leg open hazard. That fencing has been like this for a very, very long time, and it needs to be replaced. So I'd like to ask the board, if it's okay, if we can, do RFPs to have this fencing replaced.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that's it.
I mean,
Do you have anything else you want to add, Chris?
Yeah, I would like, we also met with Bobby Madden with our
Right.
PFYA, and we discussed potential recreation development in the Mount Vernon community. The Mount Vernon Field Complex, we have old basketball court, an old deck hockey type that was converted to deck hockey court, and we have an old tennis court out there as well, with the fencing, et cetera. I think that it would be beneficial for the township to take a look at that as a potential, easy recreation, investment. One of the ideas was to potentially put 2 pickleball courts in there where the tennis court used to be, and then revamp the other 2 courts as 2 basketball courts. And also, they could still do the deck hockey on that and replace the fencing. I would like to, ask the board if I could, see about getting some bids on that. And any question? The EFYA residents, or members do, but it's open to the public. Members of the community walk their dogs there, the kids go down there and play basketball, play baseball, at no cost to them at all.
So Chris, just taking us through a little bit of history here. So Mount Vernon Youth Development developed this area back in the early 70s, actually probably late 60s now that I think about it, because I used to play ball there when I was in high school. That group still oversees the property as well as owns the property, but it has been wide open to EFYA, our youth association in Elizabeth Forward, for several decades now. So in my mind, they're one and the same. They are Elizabeth Township as well as just privately owned property. It would amount to the township would be improving their property, but I think it's part of Elizabeth Township. I really feel that way.
I definitely agree with you, and it is technically what the organization does is, they're Mount Vernon Youth Development Group, DBA EFYA.
Oh, that's right.
And they help manage our, municipal property up here.
Who owns the property?
The, members of, the residents of Elizabeth own it. Anybody that goes there, it's open, it has no debt, it's an open park to the community, it's a 501(c), just open to the community.
I guess that's your answer, Bart. Who owns it? It's a 501c3?
Yeah, someone,
They have to have a charter.
they have to have.
Yeah, it's
I'm
Mount
just looking
Vernon
at-
Youth Development.
Well, I'm just looking,
Owns it.
I'm just
The
looking,
residents run it.
I'm just looking if we would go in and try to do something with that property, and there's a, yeah. I'm just looking at, not saying I don't wanna do that, but I'm just saying, what happens if you
We
do?
have to find a way, to do this. This is a big gray area to develop, and it's not gonna be a whole big pile of money to do some asphalt on this part of this existing, lots.
So would they have any plan, does this organization have any plan of maybe doing some kind of fundraising or any other kind of opportunity to do that?
Yeah, currently they're doing fundraising to try and put lights for the community too, as of right now, yes. Talking with Bobby, yes.
John,
I have 2 questions. If we talk the ball field next to our construction site?
No. Right now?
Yeah. No, you're talking about replacing the fencing?
Yes.
My only recommendation would be, I know you want to do that, I would wait, because we are all over that place down there, and I hate for you to spend the money to replace it, and we have just some kind of crap happens thing and knocks the fence over or something, and so maybe we could wait.
Well, you have a good point. So I'm not talking about the backstop. That's after. The backstop is terrible, but no, that has to stay for now. The fencing in front of the dugouts, in front on the ball field side of the dugouts, and then the fencing down the left field line is not that close to your existing fencing that you're using there. And it's out of harm's way from where that crane path is going to be. Okay. Free fence.
Any other comments about the Mount Vernon development, any other?
I've been in Mount Vernon, I think, this is like, I'm not sure how to say it. If we could figure out a way to keep it accessible, free to our citizens, the people who live in the township, and I don't know if there's a way you could have it. I realize the township doesn't own the property, but if you can make it so like, for so many years, 25 years, 50 years, I don't know, I really don't know how that would be done. but, that is available for people to use. I think that'd be a great asset for Mount Vernon and for the township, really. A lot of families, obviously, throughout the township, especially in Mount Vernon.
The only thing I would say that, and I am part of EFYA, so just make sure that everybody knows that, I'm vice president of it. Currently, if they chose to make it not open to the public for free, they would lose their 501(c)(3) status as a nonprofit, the way it's set up, so just food for thought.
Thank you.
I like to give a deed restriction though, if we, do decide to move forward, so that we still have access to that field for the residents for how many.
So are you asking Chris and Kyle, are you asking to give them recommendations for us to do an RFP over? Do you want to come up with some idea of a plan of what you want to happen there? We have John go over there and estimate what a plan might look like and what those costs would be. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Be good to get a general idea first before we start.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I think what.
Yeah, I agree. That's all I
Lay out what you guys were thinking about, and then maybe we'll have John go over, do an estimate of what that might cost us and come back with that. How's that?
That would be perfect, that's all I'm asking for.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay. Anything else, Parks and Recreation?
No, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Okay. Personnel, no report. Public Safety Police.
Well, we're gonna meet with Robin and Kate on the department, she's getting ready to schedule a meeting, and we're looking at, replacing, we had lost a member.
Yes.
So, we're gonna look at replacing that individual and move forward with that, and, I would like to set up another meeting with the fire department chiefs.
Good.
Within this month, I was waiting to make sure we had a three committee, you know, so I was kind of waiting for that this morning.
Great.
Ahead of that meeting.
Thank you. Sanitation. No report?
No, the big push is on the agenda tonight, so.
Yeah, okay.
I do-
Thank you. Good. Public comment. Pat Paladina, Roslyn Street.
Actually, I'm here to thank the job is done. I knew I'd be up here one day to thank everybody that had anything to do with getting it cleaned up. Didn't think it would take me this long, but it started with Chief Warnick removing the vehicles that have been there for months. And then it just escalated to cleanup. It's like 95% clean. I'm happy. And I just want to thank everybody that was involved.
Thank you, Pat. Thanks for your
Not done yet.
Not all consensual.
Not quite done yet.
Not done yet.
The new owner is made great strides.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Long?
Question is, would you thank me for coming?
I don't know, Micah. How are you doing? Nice to see you.
Doing fine, nice to see you, congratulations, Denny, I'm president of the Denny campus band. But that's not why.
Oh.
I'm here by invitation of a newspaper published article that invited me to come and speak if I had a concern about the sewage. The sewage is a way of life in this township. For as long as I've been living here and coming to meetings, we've had sewage discussions. And I think we've all come to accept that the rates are going up and things are changing. And I noticed that the rates, the usage amounts have gone down and the rates have come up. But at the very bottom of that notice was a little blurb. And the blurb was of interest to me, which most people would think it's trivial. Some people don't know what I'm talking about even. But it's called a deduct meter. And the deduct meter is a trivial little thing. It's a small little perk for our township, and it's going to be taken away. And it does mean a lot for people who are washing their cars. It doesn't mean a lot to people who are watering their flowers. But it means a lot to people with swimming pools. It means a lot to people who are doing a lot of extensive landscaping and watering. And myself, I didn't even know what a deduct meter was. until we put in a new front yard. And then I was told, I bought the little meter, I had the township come out and check it, check the numbers, and as we watered our yard, bringing it back up to its beauty, we saved a little money because that water is not going through the sewage system. And I just found it a little disingenuous to raise our rates about our sewage, our water that's going through the sewage system, and then taking away a little perk that the public has, if they even know about it. And I'm not talking about, you guys today talked about millions of dollars worth of things. I'm talking about $20 or $30 in a month. And it's only the summer months, really, when you're using water. So, it said in the paper, in the advertisement, if you had a concern, come and talk about it. And that's my concern. It's that one small little perk of being Elizabeth Township resident that I would say a lot of people don't even know about it or use it. Is being taken away for something that water runs into your yard and down through the ground. It does not go, oh, okay, I'll shut up. But you get my drift. It's one little perk.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Oh, can I say one more thing real quick? I'd also like to thank the commissioners for your leaf pickup in the fall. I've missed every meeting after the fall cleanup. And that is something that myself and my neighbors use. And thank you for doing that. That's another little township perk that not everyone uses, but the people that do enjoy it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice seeing you. Sandra Kraushaw.
My neighbor.
Hi, neighbor. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good.
I have the same issue, the deduct meter. We've had one for a number of years, and I have a garden and flowers and a lot of, we have a fairly sizable property. It costs a fair amount of money to put, well, not a lot, but it costs the money to put those deduct meters in. And it's not just for myself, but there are other friends that have pools and so forth. None of that water goes into the sewage system. So the deduct meter only goes to your outside line that goes, to your yard or your wash your car or whatever, but it only goes to those systems, and it's regulated so that it can only go there. So I think it's fairly unfair that, it's not water that's not going through the sewage system. And same thing, you saw the article in the paper about the deduct meter and being, done away with, and people have gone to the expense of putting those in, as well as the fact that that water doesn't run through the sewage system. So I think it's very unfair that something like that is being changed midstream when people have put these meters in their house. So that's our issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you for your comment. Appreciate it. Nick Algieri. Hi, Nick, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you. I just wanted to thank all the commissioners for giving me the opportunity with the internship. Matt, Josh, I know I haven't personally met you yet, but it's nice to meet you. I just wanted to thank you guys again for giving me the opportunity. I wanted to also say that I have my 6 objectives for this internship. If there's anything on top of that that you need done or have an idea for me, to pile it on, because I'd appreciate that opportunity as well, while I'm here for the internship or after. So I just want to thank you guys again. And on top of that, Greg, thank you for all your help. And Jamie, Joyce, and Jess are all wonderful in the administration office with giving me help as well. So thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Nick, hold on one second. I met with you, and I have to say that I'm highly impressed with your abilities and already having most of your objectives already done. And the way it was set up and the precision that you put into it and the care that you put into it, definitely doing a great job, seriously.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll second that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming out. And Gora.
sorry, but I want to extend my condolences to Patty and Jim Hoffman. I didn't know that their daughter passed away. I knew her pretty well. Talked to her a lot. We didn't always agree on everything, but we always had real pleasant conversations. But I want to, and I have to, I don't know if there's number 2 on the agenda. I want everybody to pay attention, and if they can, try to find the editorial in the Wall Street Journal this past week. And the editor of the Wall Street Journal wrote it. And it's about mask mandates and the use of masks. And he refers to a study by Johns Hopkins University Hospital in Baltimore. These things are useless. And they bring out all the data and everything. And I'd like every one of you to go and read that and get rid of these things. They're useless. And that will prove it.
They're certainly useless when you don't put your nose underneath it.
They're useless. But anyway, I made my point there.
Well, we only lost what is it, how many?
904,000.
904,000 people, yeah, okay. Continue.
Guys like Governor Cuomo and Wolf should be in jail for sending sick people in with, people that weren't sick. But anyway, I don't want to put our manager on the spot. But last time I was here, I asked him about getting copies of the audit and the budget. And I said, I'm willing to pay for it. He said, I have to write the note. We had a good relationship. I want to know, Matt or you told him to everybody to request to write the note. I went through this about 7 or 8 years ago.
I did not.
That's crap.
I did not, but if you asked me, I would. That's the proper procedure, Larry. You should.
For general documents?
For public documents, absolutely.
It's crap, man. You know it.
Because so there's a record, Daniel. And so that you're paying the correct price. I'm just saying, he didn't ask.
We had a good relationship. And then all of a sudden, I don't know why he did it.
It's not, there's nothing to do with your relationship.
Okay,
That's what the law
I
is.
want to move on to the next. I made my point. I want to thank the road department. They did an excellent job as usual every year. And, and actually, that's all I have. I want to thank you guys. But I want to know how that, and now I'm going to ask you. They said they didn't tell you. I want to know why.
They did not say.
You and I had a good relationship. Never had a problem asking for anything from you.
Thanks, Sam. Ted Price. Hi, Ted, how are you? Good, how are you? Good. All right, so I have a couple items here. One is, again, the order of agenda. I'm asking, again, for the presentation discussion portion to be put in the agenda and public comment after that, so that if something comes up during the presentation or comment. I know the last agenda was like that, Ted. We had changed it and we had made, I apologize for that. I have addressed that. I haven't been here for a while. I've had things going on, so I didn't see that last one. The other thing is that, like, some of the ordinances that are here that you're voting on and so forth, like, it became a little more clear whenever it says ordinance 969 for 1, but then 2 sort of tells what it's about. I would ask that on the website to have like a link on the agenda to what that item specifically is, so that when it's on here, people know, like just whatever the newspaper article was normally, that was going to be going out about that ordinance or whatever else that was there, if there was just some sort of link so that when people come in, they know what ordinance number 969 is, so that there's some sort of understanding before we even begin the discussion.
A link to the ordinance.
A link to the request for the ordinance. In a newspaper, you know how in the newspaper articles, you said ordinance 969 deals with blah, 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 just a link to what it's generally about.
Ted, we gotta every extent to, during the discussion period after a motion is made and seconded, to explain these things extremely thoroughly. And that will be done again tonight.
I understand that, but that's after public comment's done. That's why I'm asking for this to be done ahead of time, so if someone does have a comment on something outside of what you're saying, that they would have a way of doing that. So I understand you guys explain that very well, but public comment's already over at that point in time. That's the plan. And I'm just trying to.
I just don't know how you're gonna do that, so if we have
Can you stop the clock for?
we have an ordinance that's for vote, and you want some type of a link through the web to go learn about it?
I think what he's saying is, so under number 1, like it says motion to ratify advertisement ordinance 969. we don't normally have, like, 969 is the next, which says establishing new sewer rates and limiting use of VDOT.
Okay.
So that's probably the description we already use in the paper. I think you probably just saw the first one and was like, what's 969? It is described there. I don't know what other detail you would need, Ted. I mean, we're not gonna link the ordinance. I mean, have we tried?
I'm not asking for the whole ordinance, I'm just saying whenever there was a request out there anyway in the newspaper to advertise this ordinance is there,
Yeah, we
that
probably.
you don't
use
have to
this right
produce
here.
anything more.
What's in number 2 is probably what we use for the newspaper.
Okay.
It's just kind of fun to ask, if we use the first resolution as an example. Motion to approve 2022-03 authorizing joint bid for contractor solid waste collection. That's not enough, because that's on the agenda.
No, that's fine. It's just sometimes when the ordinance, like, some of these are spelled out well enough that I have an understanding of what's going on. But there's some other items that come up from, and I'm just giving you an item today as an example. I'm just saying from time to time, there have been things that have come up that I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And how you do a nice job going ahead and discussing that. But I'm asking, so that if I come in here and say, hey, you know what, there's something I would like to say about that, I would like to have a point of contact with that, that's all I'm asking.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll give it a try with the ordinances.
Every ordinance is advertised and it's available for viewing here at the municipal building and at the solicitor's office and the newspaper also has a copy of it.
Right, so I'm just saying
I
that,
mean, the header of the ordinance is what's actually advertised, but the whole ordinance in its draft form is available here at the building at any time.
right, but the agenda comes out on a Friday and the meeting's on a Monday, that's what the point is. And so there's any point in time, except for I'm at school, until the point in time that I could possibly come to the office and see what's going on. I'm just trying to get some understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, that is a good point. You don't have enough time to look at it ahead of time. All right.
Good. All right, item number 3 is, are we going to go back to work sessions to have a time of 2 meetings per month so that there's a work session?
We're considering it.
Okay, I would appreciate that, because I think this is great discussion going on tonight, and just to hear that, I think it's good. Then the next thing I have is the grant, the proposal for, is that for the grant writer itself, or just what the requirements of that person is going to be?
So we're actually doing an RFP, request for proposal for a grant writer, correct?
That is correct.
So we're actually looking for someone to fulfill that
So
responsibility.
if only 1 out of 8 people respond, that's the
Well,
only.
it's just been,
Yeah, they actually contacted me ahead of time, I was gonna send one anyways, so it was a little.
I just hope there's more than 1 person. And, the last thing is that the Olympus Energy complaint thing that I asked about back when that meeting was there, of that complaints go to you guys as well as to them, is still not seen on the website anywhere for that to happen. So, I also sent everyone a thing about the mine acid, grants that are out there. I sent that to them.
oh, I didn't see that. Okay, thank you. That concludes public comment. Presentation, Montauk Trail, Tim Banfield. Hi, Tim. Thanks for coming and being so patient.
Sure. Get around before I start here.
Might be 1 or 2 short there, but we can try to get a copy.
Thanks for inviting us here this evening. My name's Tim Banfield. I'm a resident of Greenoak. I'm president of the Montauk Trail Council. We're a nonprofit, all volunteer membership organization, and we're based here in Elizabeth Township. Also here with me this evening, our vice president, Kathy Fawcett, and a few of our volunteers. Our group, we're responsible through an agreement with the Regional Trail Corporation for maintaining 15 miles of the Great Allegheny Passage hike and bike trail, starting at the 15th Street Bridge in Port View and coming up along the river through Port View, Lincoln, and Liberty into the township, extending all through the township to the county line between Smithville and Collinsburg. So that's 15 miles altogether, and 12 of those miles are here in the township. I've handed out a report, not gonna go through the detail, but wanted to give you an idea of some of our activities here over the past year in particular. We have a board of 13 members, I've highlighted that there, and also, I'd say 40 to 50 active volunteers, which I've given you a list from each drawn, volunteers from all throughout the region, locally and a little extended as well. This actually, 2021, represents our 30th year of existence, and as I mentioned, I'd just like to highlight some of our volunteer activities. You mentioned Boston, that's the major trail access here in Allegheny County for the Gap, as we call it, and we staff a volunteer center there through the summer months. Our shop, our maintenance building is in Green Oak. That's where all our volunteers that do the maintenance on the trail. We base our equipment there. We have one of the major campgrounds for the trail is at the Trudeau, we call it, and we spend a lot of time keeping those facilities up for trail users. One of the things in there in the past year we established, we call it a cleaning team, and a group of our volunteers go around to some of the access areas like Boston, Cedarsville, and the trail in general, and try to pick up the garbage and help with that situation. And then we also, of course, we put out a newsletter to keep our membership informed and let them know what's going on with the trail in the community. And as I mentioned, our membership over 500 volunteers, or 500 members. We have a committee that helps us try to keep that and hopefully grow it. So that's a few highlights of some of the areas we've been working on. We'd like to acknowledge working with the Recreation Committee, Commissioner Walk in particular, in the past year. Thank the Township for their support, like in partnering at Boston and trying to maintain the facilities, the toilets, the improvements we're trying to make as things progress, such as the water fountain that went in this past year. We appreciate that support, and would like to continue to work together and try to keep the trail an asset here for the township and the region. So I think I covered most of the points I wanted to make. Certainly open to any questions you have. Commissioner Walk has my contact info, always available if there's something that you would like to follow up with.
Tim, on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I want to thank you and your group. I had asked you and Kathy to come here tonight to speak. I have learned a lot about your group in the last year. I have been totally amazed. Mr. Smith, Charlie Smith, is present with us tonight. He's going to talk later on about what zoning does. But he also helps maintain a pretty amazing garage down in Lower Green Oak. So I would ask all the new commissioners to take the 50-cent tour of the trailhead in Boston, as well as a 50-cent tour of the facility in Boston, Lower Green Oak, as well as Buena Vista as well. And remember, this group, 550 members, Tim, is that about right?
Yes, that's right.
550 dues-paying members, all volunteer, taking care of 15 miles of trail with zero money from anybody else. They do this all on their own. They get very little, if anything, from Regional Trail Corporation. Remember Regional Trail Corporation. So I really feel strongly that moving forward, we as a board could support this group more financially as well. And I don't have anything specific I'm going to bring up tonight, because I'm certain they could pick up a few projects and the township could help them with this financially. They split costs with us on the cleaning of the SSTs, the sweet smelling toilets, I think that's so ironic, the sweet smelling toilets. But anyhow, they, also, our DPW helps Montauk Trail Council quite a bit with grass cutting, which is essential to this group, that we continue to do that. What else, Tim, what else can the township help you with? Do you think of anything off the top of your head?
Well, we'd certainly like to continue to work together, parking at the access areas in an area, we could always improve on. That's one thought. And river access too, potentially in the future, another area. So, and, as we progress, we have challenges with drainage along the trail. You mentioned the Forest Hills Road. There's some impact with the trail there that we'd like the opportunity to work with you on that. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, please bring it forward.
Thanks. Yes.
Thanks, Tim.
Come out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Township Planning Commission, Kathy Boston. Hi, Kathy. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi,
My name is
Kathy.
Kathy Fawcett. As you heard, I'm also on the trail. I'm on the planning commission. Some of you already know, 2 of you, so thank you. I was here to talk about what planning is. You know, what do we do? What do we do for you? We are basically elected by the governing body, which is the commissioners. So I gave you a letter saying I want to be on it. You vote me in. What I am is an extension to you. We have no voting rights. We can't do anything. All we do is make sure what we get in front of us is legal. Federal, state, local, and county. After that, our committee then talks about other situations that may come up. So, like I said, what you do is you elect us. We have a 4-year term. 5 members are on the board. There's a chair, that's me, for now anyhow. Under the Pennsylvania Municipal Code, they say you have to give us $40. And that's basically to say thank you for doing what you do. Because believe me, it's a lot of work. Matt knows and so forth. So we're an advisory. We're an extension to all of you. So saying that, you're saying, well, what do you do? We do subdivisions, we do planning, building plans, we talk about ordinances. There's issues both in zoning and the township, which we're gonna be working on, especially with some, more than others. Open spaces, blight, anything that comes to issues. Now, saying that, we have our board. We gotta do a motion. We're done talking, we bring it towards you. Now you get it. So let's just use examples of subdivision. You get in front of you and you say, well, we said it's okay. You get it, you look at it, you have questions. You got 3 options. 1, you vote for it. 2, you reject it. 3, you bring it back to us. Well, actually, it could be 4. The rejection one is that you can change it on your own. Then you don't bring it back. Now, when you do bring it back, we ask that you tell us what the problem is. So if there is an issue, and you say, well, we're gonna bring it back to planning because we just don't know what's going on. We need some direction from you to tell us what it is. So just handing it back will not help, because we'll have no idea what you're talking about. So that's basically what we do. We cannot be on zoning. Members should be diverse within our group, meaning it should be a combination of all different backgrounds, education, and so forth. So you don't want all that are all, say, engineers. So a good diverse group is well taken. You should be open-minded, meaning if you like something or you don't like something, put that aside. You need to be open-minded. Listen to what's going on, ask questions, be concerned. That's what we do. Also, whether you're a chair or a member, you cannot speak for the committee at a whole. Meaning, someone says to you guys, commissioners, we, the commission, planning commission, rejects it. We cannot do that. Not myself, no one who's on the board. That's a no-no, absolute no-no. That's not it. That's basically all we have. Oh, one last thing. Whoever did the websites, we're not the fourth Wednesday. That's zoning. We're the third Wednesday. It has written on our fourth. So you might want to change that. Very important. Any questions?
Thank you for all your help, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
Hey, no problem.
Appreciate you coming out.
No problem. Thank you for bringing me.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
I was on that committee for a while.
Yes, you were, and so is Dan.
It's a lot of work.
So they know, but there's a lot of new commissioners, and you may ask yourself, well, who are you? Why are you here? We're nothing more but an extension to help you do your job. That's basically what we do.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Have a good evening. Charlie Smith.
If I can get up. Next time I meet with you folks, I don't wanna be walking with a stick, cause I just made a raise, you get a knee, not a full.
Okay. That's an awfully nice stick. I mean, it sticks up. You had to use one.
Yeah. Okay, I happened to be the chair this past year for the zoning board, and basically, we have an agenda, and I think when there's a problem with John, when people ask to have a shed located somewhere, whatever it might be, and it doesn't meet the code that we have. They bring it to the board, which we have 5 members, and we question them, bring those people here and listen to their complaint or their request. And then our board members, some of us don't even ask a question because somebody else already asked a good question. So it goes that way there. And then we, as a chair, I kind of see that it's kind of leveled off, whatever, and then when I call for a vote, for a motion and a second, and after that, we have a roll call vote. So, John calls for a roll call vote, everybody that's in the room knows who voted for what, or if they didn't vote. So it's basically kind of a judge and a jury type setup, and we, as the group that I've been with, we try everything we can to help those folks. And some of the requests are kind of tough, and as individuals, some of us will go do a ride-by to take a look, and that helps us make a decision. Like, fencing is one that comes up a lot, and we've got to height the fence, but the guy lives down here, he has wants to put an 8-foot fence up there, it isn't gonna bother anybody, so you've got to rule them out. So that's pretty much what we do, and, we try really hard to be fair with the people who make requests. That's all I have to tell you.
Thanks for coming out, and I know you're patiently sitting over there, so we appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Tony, want to discuss the township newsletter?
Yeah, we talked briefly, at the last meeting, myself and Greg talked a little bit more on this, and, we have kind of 2 directions that we kind of want to go with this. One is, that I don't think is in, this agreement is potentially putting this out on a biannually basis. some of the information that, doing some research, back in 2016, we actually did do one, and one only. And it was actually pretty well done. It advertised, Officer Eli, it has some information on waste management, had some other information about prescription drop-off, had information about the sanitation office, recreation, and it also had some businesses on it as well as advertisement. And it actually went out to about 7,000 residents at that time, for that. Now, some of the ideas that, you know, information that I would like to consider to be put into it would be financials, like in pie charts that are easy to be seen, such as, you know, overall categories, not the detail line by line, but in overall categories, and how that impacts our money that we have on an annual basis. And then, how to reserve the community center, explain our digital communications. We also now have Facebook and post our agendas on there. And we're also doing, the website, how that works, how do we get notifications from our website, or a lot of our citizens don't even know that they can actually have that. Any new ordinances, news or statements by the police, and our fire departments, all three fire departments, maybe have each of them have a section in there, maybe something like I think you guys have an initiative over at the schools, you know, that would be a nice little article on there, showing the community involvement, say with the police, I believe that, or not the police, but the fire departments, one of the fire departments just did some training for, I believe, ice, rescue over on, Rob Roderick's Lake, I believe, earlier this month, which was fantastic. It was a training for them so that they could, you know, help other people. Things like that, I believe, would be very beneficial in our township newsletter. And also too, you know, posting our goals and our achievements on a biannual. I mean, we went through that first year, or that first meeting, when you listed like 25 different things that were fantastic that helped build a nice foundation for the 2022 year. Let's get that out in the newsletter as well. So, two different things that we're kind of split on is one, producing this ourselves and using a local printer to do this. And Greg, you had an idea that was shared as well that I asked for you to comment on.
Sure, but Commissioner Tupper contacted me, I was kind of in the process of speaking with a company called Hometown Press, and they've been in business for a while working with local municipalities, and what they specialize in is creating maps, newsletters, or welcome packages for municipalities. Their business model is they go around the community and sell ads to local businesses, and then they create these publications. They print them at no charge because the revenue from the ads pays for it. Our only cost would be postage, with no way around that, and then roughly a $496 fee to process the mailing and so forth. So, and that goes out to all 5,600 homes. So that's an option. And Chris, we had a very short discussion, but I think doing the newsletter internally is doable, and I think it's a great idea. I would love to see this Hometown Press do maybe a welcome package, because that was part of the comp plan, I believe, that came up. And I know that we sell several hundred homes a year in the township, which is something all the time. So,
Yeah, I tend to agree with you too as well. You know, we will have to discuss what type of resources you would have available.
Basically,
on your team.
creating the info, and like you said, there's a lot of good stories, and I think you and I, Chris, talked about that as well. So we need to do a better job of broadcasting the great stuff that we're doing. And is there money in the budget for this? Is there any money budgeted for,
$400 for, I think you could handle that.
Dan, come on, you got more money than that. Dan's always trying to save the buck.
Well, one of the nice things about, and it would take some work on our part, that when we produced our own back in 2016, there were several small businesses that actually advertised on this. And it actually says on this newsletter that it was at no cost to the residents. So if it could be done once, maybe it could be done a second time, you know, which would take a little bit of legwork to recruit some businesses that may be interested, you know, in having their logo or name or small advertisement on this newsletter. So, but zero fit? Zero budget.
He like that. Did you see his face? when he
Commissioner
said
Tobin,
zero?
Commissioner Tobin, have you identified anybody that you would like to see serve on a committee to develop that?
If, I don't wanna talk, are we talking commissioners or township?
Residents, whoever, that's open.
I wasn't thinking residents, and I don't wanna speak for Greg's Resources, but, internally, we've actually talked, and I don't wanna, like, sell out his, you know, issue out his
Okay.
resources on that.
I think it's a great idea, like I say, this forward.
Doable, and definitely open to anybody that would like to do that, and maybe has some experience with that, because if we can, get people involved, it would definitely make it a lot easier and more beneficial to our township, because there may be some other things that we're not even thinking of that people just want to know.
Maybe we go to high school and, get high school kids, and they volunteer to put the newsletter together.
That's a good idea.
That's, the key is producing the information. You know, getting a company to do that like that would be a great idea, but it's just having the stories to tell. And they have to be timely. Like you said, putting information that everybody's gonna use, basically, I know we do have a website, it would be enhancement to the website. Thank you. We need to talk further about how we can make that happen.
Yes, definitely.
But I appreciate you bringing this forward. Thanks. Okay. Resolutions. Motion to approve resolution 2022-03 authorizing Elizabeth Township to participate in the 2023 joint bid for contractor for solid waste collection, removal, and disposable services coordinated and administered by the South Hills Council of Governments.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Walk, and second by Dan. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Resolution number 2, to approve, resolution 2022-04 authorizing the township manager to establish policies related to COVID-19 virus for all township employees and facilities for the year 2022. I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Dan? Second. Benny, any discussion?
I just want to thank you guys for doing that. I know you put that together. It was extremely well done.
Well,
Does someone explain to everybody here?
Explain a little bit how we did policy.
yeah.
Well, Chief Bonnet had a lot to do with it, he helped me out quite a bit, but we bounced it around between Paul, myself, and Chief. And we obviously referenced the CDC and the governor's recommendations to keep with that policy.
And we had, how many cases, Chief, just in the, which could have really debilitated.
We had a number of cases.
We had a number of cases which could have really impacted our operations.
Public works also.
Public works as well, so, I mean,
You know, just finding a balance between
Right.
protecting the workforce and also, having the workforce in place.
yes. So I do appreciate your help on that. You did a great job and you turned it around extremely rapidly, so thank you.
So with this motion, just to be clear, with this motion, this gives Greg the ability to react to anything for the protection of our residents without having to wait for the board to make a legislative decision, just so that everybody's clear.
That's correct.
And
That is correct.
Related to COVID-19.
Related to COVID-19,
Right.
correct.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Ordinances, motion to ratify the advertisement of ordinance 969. Need a motion, please.
So moved.
Dr. Walk, second, Dan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Motion to adopt ordinance 969, establishing a new sewage rates and eliminating the use of deduct meters.
So moved.
Dr. Walk, second, Dan. Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I would like to have this separated out from the deduct meters being on here. I looked at the numbers, and I think I shared with some of the board members. We don't really, on a resident level, the amount of people that actually use this and the cost of it is so minimal. I'd hate to see them lose an ability to water their lawn or something along those lines, or fill up their pool and be charged for something that they're not using. And that's where I have an issue with this ordinance, is the deduct meters.
We've had
included.
these abused, in the township, where we've actually gotten negative water readings from people, saying that they actually didn't use any water, and actually gave back water. So, the system's broken some ways, and I feel bad for some residents that might lose it, but you almost have to fix this initially, and then maybe relook at it down the road. But right now, it's being abused.
I agree. I think it's being, there's 163 deduct meters, according to the list that Commissioner Tendler researched. I'm not sure from that list how many are commercial. There's certainly commercial aspects of this that we have to look at on a case-by-case basis, which we will get pushback from commercial on this, and we will have to look at those on a case-by-case basis. The use of a deduct meter has been on the honor system, and for the most part, people are honorable. But if we were to actually have to go out and inspect each one of these 163 deduct meters on a monthly basis, that's gonna start costing the township a lot of money to have someone in our organization go do that. I feel strongly that these need to go away. Now, historically, in this area, we are the last surviving municipality that legal tax services bills that has allowed deduct meters to remain. They have gone away everywhere else a long time ago. I know it's lumped under one thing, but it's real simple. We gotta get rid of them and start this program again if the board feels it's necessary.
Other discussion?
Yeah, I had the opportunity, I worked.
Speak up into the, thanks. That's, you're new.
I work for the sanitary authority for the town. I had the opportunity to talk to the building people there, and, there's both sides of the story. There's townships that don't care you're getting done, and then there's townships that do it, but they have a structured program of how it's done. And I work for Alcosan, and there's only a few, we only self-bill a few places, and we have a huge staff, and they send people out to handle it. But it's done on a place-by-place basis, and it's not just, from what I understand, you go down to Lowe's or whatever, buy a meter, hook it up, and call somebody here and give them a number, because that's where we get into the weeds and stuff. So, as much as I think there's a need for it, I think we need to stop the bleeding, get a policy on it, and then go from there, because it's a useful thing, but we can't have 163 meters in the township. And I can't remember offhand, I hate to be quoted on it, but I think there was 163 meters in Alcosan, which services 383,000 people. So somewhere along the line, we got a disconnect. So we need to shut it down, relook at it, and start over maybe. Because, you know, as much as anybody else, I have a pool, I fill it up every 5 years or whatever it is to do it. But right now, we need to stop, because there is some meters that have come in that we owe people money. Can't have that. How could you use more money than you have? So obviously, they're not hooked up correctly, because it's supposed to be a dedicated line on a irrigation system, on a tank, whatever. So stop it, relook at it. I know they charge $100 and some for a fee to have a deduct meter, so you're numbered, and you can only buy this meter, this, you know, at whatever, wherever they buy them from. So if we go that route, I'm all for it, but I think we need to stop it right now. And that's my opinion. I think there's good and bad, but we need to stop it.
Any other discussion? I'll just make one comment. So the program that is currently implemented was only allowed for swimming pools anyway. So all these other deducts that are out there other than swimming pools aren't
this, watering of your yard, that's not permitted under the original program?
I don't know how that started, it's not permissible under our current ordinance, only for swimming pools or deep end wells. So, yeah, the program went sideways somewhere along the line, and what I had heard were stories of, right, just hooking up and calling in a number, which it just can't feasibly work that way, obviously. So, there has to be a structured system with accurate, calibrated meters, with separate lines that are reviewed and installed correctly, and then proper readings that are properly measured. And if you're not willing to do that, then I don't recommend the program, because I just think, like you said, you get negative readings, which makes no sense. So that's what happens when you're working off the honor system, and it just, people just aren't, it's not everybody that wants it is honest, unfortunately, so. But yeah, it's not even, these other ones aren't even permissible anyhow.
Any other discussion?
I still would like my request to have it separated as a separate vote.
You can't, you either vote, this ordinance has been advertised, so if you want it separated, we can, no, I'm saying, if you wanna do that, you can separate it now, you have to vote this down, so you can vote no, and then I can create a separate ordinance if that's what you want to do, but, yeah, this one has already been advertised.
So we have a motion, a second. All those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
One opposed, the motion passes. Items for consideration, these again are non-expenditure items, consent motion. Motion to approve the commissioners' meetings dated January 3rd, 2022.
So moved.
Dan, second. Second, Dennis, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Motion to approve commissioner special meeting minutes dated January 19th, 2022.
So moved.
Dan, second. Second, Richard. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Motion to approve commissioner special meeting minutes dated December 28th, 2021. I need a motion, please. So moved, Rich, second. Dan, sorry. Discussion? Go ahead.
So the 28th, that's before I was even put in there, so I don't think I could actually.
You can abstain from that vote, okay, if you weren't here.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed?
I abstain.
Abstain? Thank you. Okay, these are roll call votes. Motion to approve the township bill warrant dated February 7th, 2022 in the amount of $495,285.70. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Dan, second. Richard, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Walk?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Tillman?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer?
Yes.
President Rocco?
Yes. Motion passes. Number 2, motion to approve the sanitary bill warrant dated February 7th, 2022 in the amount of $300,788.33.
So moved.
Okay,
I'll take the second.
okay, I'll be Cal, motion, Chris, second, I'm sorry, Chris. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Walk?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell? Yes. Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Tillman?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer?
Yes.
President Rocco?
Yes, motion passes. Motion number 3, motion to approve the bond requisition number 9 in the amount of $78,363.77. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Dan,
Second.
Chris, a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Walk?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell? Yes. Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Tillman?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer?
Yes.
President Rocco?
Yes. Number 4, accept a motion to appoint Charlie Smith to the Elizabeth Township Zoning Board for a 5-year term expiring on December 31st, 2026.
So moved.
Kyle Walk, motion.
Second.
Second, Richard Algieri. Any discussion?
Only gets a new knee.
That gives you me. Okay. We need a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Walk?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Tillman?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer?
Yes.
President Rocco?
Yes. On number 5, accept a motion to appoint, we have 2 names here for this appointment to the Elizabeth Township Planning Commission for a 4-year term expiring December 31st, 2025. 2 names were submitted were Tara Kite and Mark Patrick. So do I have a motion to nominate either one of those?
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Tara Kite.
Tara Kite, okay. Anyone else? Second?
Second.
Second, Tara? Okay, we're gonna vote on, accept the motion to appoint Tara Kite to the Elizabeth Township Planning Commission for a 4-year term expiring December 31st, 2025. I need a roll call, please.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell? Yes. Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer? Yes. President Rock?
Yes. Motion passes. These are, motion to approve a $18.94 hourly rate for full-time employee Jamie Montgomery, effective January 1st, 2022, in accordance with the 2022 budget.
So moved.
Rich, second. Kyle, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell? Yes. Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer?
Yes.
President Rock?
Yes. Motion to approve $18.94 an hourly rate for Joyce Craft, effective January 1st, 2022, in accordance with the 2022 budget, and these will be moved to full-time employees.
So moved.
Rich, second. Second, Chris. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer?
Yes.
President Rock?
Yes. Number 8, motion to approve $18.94 an hour hourly rate for Jessica Grunland, effective January 1st, 2022, in accordance with the 2022 budget. This will be also for full-time employee status.
So moved.
Richard,
Second.
second, Chris, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell? Yes. Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer?
Yes.
President Rock?
Yes. We're going to pull motion number 9 from the agenda tonight. Number 10, motion to approve an annual salary of $90,000 a year for Greg Butler, effective January 1st, 2022, in accordance with the 22 budget.
So moved.
Richard, second.
Second.
Second, Kyle. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer?
Yes.
President Rock?
Yes. We're going to pull number 11 on, number 12, motion to authorize KLH engineer to prepare bid specifications for repair of the landside portion of the Forest Hills Road. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Dan, second? Second, Richard. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell? Yes. Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer?
Yes.
President Rock?
Yes. Motion passes. Number 13, motion to close the 2022 sanitary budget as amended.
So moved.
Dr. Walk, motion. Second, Dan. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Walker?
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Toma?
Yes.
Commissioner Poyer?
Yes.
President Rock?
Yes. Number 14, motion to approve the purchase of GPS tracking devices for all Elizabeth Township vehicles at a cost of $9,000 per year.
So moved.
Richard, second, Dan. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a discussion.
Sherman?
With the purchases, is there a cost to actually install?
No, our vehicles are, new enough that we can use the, I guess, what do you call it, somebody help me. You call it diagnostic, yeah, so it's like a module that you look at.
Now, with this, is there any legacy costs such as a monthly, charge for
Chief might be able
GPS?
to answer that for us. Chief?
The $9,000 outlined is the monthly, annual as a total.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And My question along that same line would be that I looked at the availability of those different plans, the 15, the 20, the 25. Which did you choose, Chief?
We went with
The basic?
no, we did not. There's 5 options. We have the 4th. The 5th got into safety equipment, that some of our vehicles did not have, and it would not be, economically, wise for us to get into it. So from a public safety aspect, this GPS will be used, primarily, for, us to hook into the county's, MDT mobile data terminal system, so they would have live view of where our vehicles are and better, help us dispatching in an ungodly situation that we would have to rescue somebody and they would not be able to answer. We'd be able to locate them quickly. From a public works perspective, this technology is already available in other municipalities where it goes live on the plow trucks in a time of year like we're in right now, where you can log into a splash page for the township and be able to look at live where your plows are. This could get into leaf removal and other types of public works, things that we have here in the township. It is that's the purpose of it, to expand and to make ourselves a more, everybody in the township has more knowledge of where we're at and what we're doing, but from a public safety perspective, the public will be able to look at where the police cars are because it does compromise safety.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks for that explanation, it's very helpful. Anything else on that?
Yeah, I'd like to add that it's, I believe it's for 35 vehicles, is that what we came up with?
35 vehicles, yes.
Just to put that in perspective.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call. Any, I'm sorry, did I miss? Okay. We have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Commissioner Campus?
Yes.
Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Noma?
Yes.
Commissioner Foyer?
Yes.
President Ryan?
Yes. Number 15, motion to authorize a one-time adjustment credit in the amount of $50.63 for sewage bill ETS 100000642. Need a motion, please?
So moved.
Cobble, second.
Second.
Second, Richard. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Locke?
Yes.
Commissioner Campus?
Yes.
Commissioner Walls?
Yes.
Commissioner Algieri?
Yes.
Commissioner Noma?
Yes.
Commissioner Foyer?
Yes.
President Rocco?
Yes. Have a motion to adjourn.
I have one thing. I have one thing real quick.
Please go ahead, Bob.
Okay, so, the Greenhead Log House, and obviously Greenhead received a $100,000 grant, $50,000 from Senator Brewster, $50,000 from Representative Mike Scarrett. It's from the Gaming Economic Development Tourism Fund, with Linda Bennett and Debbie Gilbert as residents. I just thought that was a really cool thing to see money like that funnel through the township for, something that I think is good for our township. So I wanted to just say thank you to them, as our representatives.
Thanks, Josh. I forgot that. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Second.